Can you hear us, Kim?
Oh, now I can hear you.
All
Great.
right,
There she is.
you saved me a text.
Nah, I was texting Hiram.
Okay, we have everybody here. It is about 7:08, so I'd like to start our meeting. Quick around the table, attendance, we'll start with Kim on the phone. We have Lauren Sardi, member, and we have Susan
Martins.
as a guest. Tom Mabry is a member, Leslie Higgins Biddle, member, ZEO emeritus almost. Lena Frazier and town planner Hiram Peck and myself, Alex Hutchinson, member. First order of business will be to review the minutes from our last meeting. Hopefully I'll have a chance to take a look at them real quickly. Do people need a minute or are you? Ken, did you have a chance to look at the minutes? She's probably muted.
Sorry. I thought they looked fine.
I'm trying to eat while I just finished driving here. I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do you have a second? Okay, Tom, thank you. So those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, minutes are approved. And our agenda for today, we have a lot of different things going on. First thing I wanted to do was to brief everybody on what I thought was a very positive call that Hiram, Lena, and I had with Ben Lovejoy, who's at the Department of Housing. And again, Ben served for a while as the regional planner for the South Central Region Council of Government. So I knew him from there, and then he moved up to the state. And he is in a position right now to provide technical assistance and support to towns who are looking to address housing needs with a particular focus on affordable housing. I did send around notes, and I think, Lena, did you make copies for people?
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest takeaway, and please, Hiram and Lena, please chime in. I know, Lena, sometimes you were conducting business there.
No, it's tough, yeah.
Those pesky residents that want to come in and actually talk to you. But we had a really good conversation. When I talked to Ben about a year ago, he was really sort of focused on, well, I can help you in terms of how do you providing direct assistance, how do you engage in discussions with your community, how do you do certain things. Over the course of the year, what he's indicated, his role has really changed from, we're not really asking to help us to do this stuff, can you get us money? And so that's his focus now, is really working to support towns and advise towns on how to apply for grants and funds. And part of that is, quite honestly, helping to provide feedback in terms of whether what you're looking for fits or it doesn't fit. So provide some guidance and direction in terms of how to go about that, doing that. The grant funds, I mean, he sort of laid out three things and then we kind of wandered in some others, but he said primarily they're for identification of potential housing opportunities within your town. So how do you identify the sites? So we kind of started down that road with the GIS map. At some point, hopefully we will get that.
Yeah, what's the status of, can I not,
What was
am I
that?
allowed to interrupt? What's the status of them redoing it? Do you know?
And this is the process of trying to re-identify through the assessors. Requested new list from the assessors where they clarify what is the actual town and water area, and that's. The assessor says the GIS people were misreading her report, so they're trying to identify correctly what is the actual identification with different colors. So how you guys wanted to have different color patterns for the different properties, and that's pretty much what needs to happen with them. And I haven't heard from them back yet, so I have to follow up with them by tomorrow. I'm hoping.
Okay, I'm just curious. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no,
Mention
no.
something on the GIS
Mm.
maps. I've been in the process on and off for a year and a half to look for a piece of property. I have a family member who wants to help financially for my son
Mm.
to have a piece of property, and we're looking in Berkshire County and Hampton County. So
Yeah.
Mass, I use the GIS, and when I do use it I'm looking at raw land. It tells me who owns it, how its sale, ownership history going backwards. And I think that would be helpful if we could have something like that on the GIS. I'm getting it on my own for free on Massachusetts.
Once the parcels are identified, all that information is linked to the parcel,
Yes,
so we have that info.
so we already have that.
Yeah,
Good.
it'll be, once the map is created showing the parcels, we can tell, who owns it, how big it is, what the zone is,
Yeah.
what they paid for it, what the sales history is.
Yes.
All that stuff is there.
Yeah.
So it's all
Great.
linked, yeah.
So I think where we're still at is trying to figure out what's the inventory of land that's
Mhm.
could be available. And that, we have to get over that hump a little bit. I mean, it's potential that could be, because I don't know if money is part of the issue. We had a certain budget and
Mm.
they didn't give us exactly what we want. Now we're going back and asking for more, and it just could be, they're trying to figure out, how do we not give you what you want?
Unless you give us more
To
money.
actually do the more. So that's something to keep in mind, but the funds could be used for that sort of an exercise, which is, how do you get the information to really do a good inventory analysis of what's available, potentially available in town? And then if and when you identify a parcel of land or multiple parcels, the funds could be used to help do feasibility analysis, soil testing and other types of things to see whether or not they may be well suited for developmental projects. So that's one application. The second is, if you wanted to structure something to have engagement discussions with the community, I think part of it could be either facilitation, hiring somebody to facilitate and be able to organize all of that. And then regulatory reviews. Again, if we wanted to hire, and the way I interpreted this hiring, it wasn't so much they would help us do the review as much as we could hire a professional to come in and take a look at our regs and do some sort of an analysis or identify where are particular areas that could be problematic in terms of trying to foster the kind of housing development that. So those are the kind of three areas he hit upon. Hiram, Alina, any additional?
Yeah, I think that's very helpful, Alex. I think that, and I've been talking with a lot of other people around the state, people that have actually gone through this process, and the last one I talked to had got a grant of almost $100,000. So I have copies of the proposals that they wrote, so I have a very good idea of where we can start, should we decide to do that.
It goes directly to the town,
Great.
just the town. The zoning, P and Z, I mean,
Well,
Well, I imagine.
how
it's
would
gonna
that?
go- I
we
imagine-
would have to work probably through the Board
Board
of
of Selectmen.
Selectmen.
Okay,
So we would go to them and say, okay, here's what we'd like to do. We have a resource at the state level. So it's kind of consistent with the conversation I had with them last month,
yeah,
which is, we've started the conversation. We understand there are resources available. We're going to have to apply, and essentially we would probably do the legwork here. And then they would have to sign off and authorize that, yes, we're requesting
we're
this.
taking them, okay. I was only asking because mid-sized suburban towns often have a Department of Community Development or small cities block grant or whatever it is that have professional people sitting there that could. So I was wondering,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it would have to, the request for the grant would have to go through the Board of Selectmen. They would probably be funded and they would set up an account for it, but we would have obviously, hopefully, input into how that was
Yeah.
allocated and how it was spent and so on.
okay, thank you.
Be my guess,
Yeah,
depending on. For selectmen.
Yeah.
Selectmen,
See what happens.
so the key elements that he just sort of, which is pretty self-evident, we have to actually know what we want. He can't just kind of go out and say, give us money, we'll figure it out. So we really have to be pretty targeted and have a good idea of what we're looking to go after. We have to submit a written request, we have to detail all of that, and then he suggests that really, you need to sort of lay out the process for how you would go out and get the outside resources you need. And again, the money, as I understand it, is the state doesn't provide all the expertise. They provide you the money to go out and get the expertise. So I did share what Leslie shared with me, the town of Brantford.
Sure.
Incredibly impressive proposal.
Mhm.
It made me feel very insignificant in terms of what we might be able to
Oh,
bring to
Alex,
the
not
table.
you ever. What are you talking?
No, I mean, it just the firepower they had in terms of the talent and experience and everything. I don't know if we have that in town or if we can tap into
You
that.
don't need
but-
it. You're Bethany.
I would say that as far as somebody I spoke to, because I'm looking for a plan for my son for affordable housing.
Hmm.
There's a fella that's built a home. He's a retired engineer. He's built a home on Hatfield Hill. And I tracked him down because I saw what he was doing.
In the corner.
And he and his wife built it with the help of their son and
Yeah.
using techniques that are described here.
What's his name?
Hold on.
Is it right on the corner of Sperry and
Yes.
Hatfield Hill?
I think it's
Yeah.
Mark Hawes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is Mark Hobbs.
Okay,
Lovely man with I think a British accent.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's Australian
Is that what it is?
or South African, something like that. Yeah, nice guy.
Better.
He was very responsive to me. I said, if
Yeah.
the moment comes where
He's-
we acquire a piece of land, would you be willing to?
so
Advise.
at the Harvest Festival yesterday, and I think it was
Hmm.
my son had his bagel truck there. Somebody came up and inquired about whether he was related to me and the housing stuff. I didn't know I didn't recognize the name, but he said, and it could be with the Australian accent, a little bit, he said a little bit of a flourish to it,
Yeah.
but was talking about the same thing. Was an architect by training, had built these kinds of things, could be available, so that would be a wonderful resource. So Kim, is this somebody you know?
Forgive me, eating my dinner. Yes, I know him we walk on the same street a lot.
I believe he's also involved with the solar panels, isn't he the one that has the solar?
Yeah.
His home is.
Right.
Energy.
Yeah, so I know who he is
Zero.
as well. He has
He insulated
been
that.
involved.
Yeah,
I think, didn't he actually buy that lot from Michael Calhoun?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
okay, that right on.
Right across the
Okay,
street.
Yeah, it's right
Yeah.
in the corner. It has a
very
solar
cool house.
panels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
solar panels on top.
all right,
Yeah.
good, we're
Um,
starting to connect a few dots here.
Yeah,
Well, that would be potentially a really nice connection to at least have a discussion with just,
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him again.
okay.
I need to anyway, if we get this piece of property, which I'm hard in search again. Because that's been on again, off again.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, Hiram, if you have a sense of it, but when it comes to taking grant money from the state, you usually have to RFQ everything and RFP everything. You
Oh,
get a
yes.
couple of bids on
Yeah.
professionals to
Yeah.
hire and do all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, there is a lot. It's worth the money. And it's not rocket science, but it does help to have someone who knows
No,
how
the-
these things work.
Yeah.
the
they're-
way
they're
this is being
three or four-
operating here, lately it's been like, okay, to probably throw it back to the department to try to oversee it itself, because that's how it's been.
Yeah,
You just
there
have to write your.
two or three firms around the state now that are doing it, so
I bet.
you get a pretty quick response, I think, and depending upon which direction we decide to go,
Yeah.
that's not really that hard to put together.
Well, it's good to know there's money. I think the issue
Yep.
still is what we want to do and what we're looking for, and we're still figuring that out.
So the impression I got, and maybe it was wishful thinking, was this initial grant request is really more of an entree into more money. So, I mean, he said at least 2 or 3 times, think big. Don't be thinking about just, we got this lot, let's put 4 units on it or whatever. So, I don't know what that means for us yet. And I know it doesn't mean, how do we put in a 60 unit
Oh, God.
housing type thing?
Excuse
But think big in terms of whether it is multiple parcels that we might be able to look at, that we could use to develop. I don't know if that means potentially for infrastructure to bring water into certain parts of town. And certainly the community economic development people are interested in that. So I don't know what it may mean, but
One of the people mentioned in the Newbrook Homes.
Yeah.
My sister's been pulling these for me
me.
for about 1.5 to 2 years. And one of the people that is on the Newbrook Homes committee is Green Planet Creates. Green Planet, he's a retired builder, architect, and he did this project in what town was it? My apologies.
Okay.
Guilford, okay, it's 9 units, single family. And
Chris Woodman, yeah.
yeah, the numbers here stun me when you say go big. State subsidies from the Department of Housing were $325,000 per unit. And covered a good portion of the building and site development costs.
Sure.
That's what I call big money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
the only reason it's affordable is if somebody gives enough grant money. It's
And he
the
got it.
same bricks and mortar, is it?
that would be pretty in this town.
Yeah, no, it would.
Yeah.
but I was also on the DOH website today, just kind of fishing around on things.
Many copies of that?
And they have a page there for developers, owners, consultants, and nonprofits. Encouraged to present proposals to build more affordable housing in Connecticut. And then they have a link to where you can go to get different resources, and if you're a developer, what you might do. And how, if you are committed to building affordable housing, where you can get, whether it's tax credits or subsidies to be able to do that sort of thing. So again, we're scratching the surface. This is something I envision that Ben can help us navigate once we come up with some ideas that are a little bit more concrete to pursue with them. Which brings me over to our conversation.
Should I run? No, what?
Our July meeting.
Oh,
So about the nonprofit.
yeah.
And again, one thing to think about is building the organizational infrastructure within the town to be able to really start to focus and do something here. So I'm wondering if that's something for us to think about in terms of grant requests. If we need to have to go out and get the expertise to be able to create this. So I'm gonna
That's
throw
an
it to
interesting
you.
question, yeah.
Are they hard to create or?
No, it's not hard. It's probably $10,000 or something, because you gotta do the IRS ruling and putting together an organization and doing bylaws and all that kind of stuff. So it's not that expensive to set one up. You have to have people that wanna do it.
Yeah,
That's the hard part. But the costs associated with it, at least initially, are not much. 10's probably too much, really, for that, but
Are there organizations now that are doing that in
Yeah.
more than one community
Yeah.
and are available
Yeah.
to speak to?
Yeah,
and get advice
definitely,
from?
definitely. I think, if stepping back in terms of what everybody's roles are in these kinds of complex things, I think in a sense, you didn't share the Canoe Brook thing with everybody, right?
I'm sorry.
The town of Branford thing. Did you share that with everybody?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. That's one option, is that as a town entity, the town of Bethany could apply for a grant from DOH. Look at sites, say we decided we wanted 4 to 6 single-family homes that were affordable to first-time buyers who don't earn more than 80,000 as a family. I'm making it up completely, but if we said
Right.
that's our goal, and then we go on this search looking for land that would accommodate it, even if it's scattered site or whatever it is, and make sure we could get through P&C and stuff. And we got money from the state to do that search. We could then write up an RFP like they did for Canoe Brook and say who's interested in building these things, and whether it's a for-profit small guy or it's a nonprofit that's regional, that's around the area or works greater New Haven area, like the people in Branford or something, they might apply. Or a small local group, should it be one that we were able to create, could say, we'll partner with somebody else with experience and we'll do it. So, I mean, there's different ways to kind of slice the bologna. Yes, Kim?
How would that work? So use your example, the Branford group. They
Right,
say, you know what, we'd love to help you. Is this something where they could look at this in terms of getting part of the grant funding to maintain their staff, expertise, overhead and everything else like
well,
that?
yeah, and they don't have a staff, they have a consultant. In fact, when I was working before COVID, I set that group up. It was
Okay.
all volunteers, no staff. And helped them pick a consultant who is now the one that put together this response to the RFP with them.
Okay,
So, I mean, that's usually small town volunteer groups don't have staff because you can't afford to raise that money and pay
Right.
for it. It's more of a, like any volunteer group, the land trust or something, they don't really have staff, you just do the thing. But you can't also then expect yourself to turn around and be a good developer, you have to secure that skill.
Right.
Consultant
Well, is that
or
You were
partnership like
talking?
this.
Yeah. Was that where you were talking, where Lovejoy was speaking of monies to actually get a volunteer group with the kind of funds to bring that kind of expertise? Is that,
Well, that's a good question
Right.
that we could ask whether any of that grant money, for instance, would pay for it. The few costs associated with organizing a local group and helping them pay for a consultant to move to an RFP state or something, but I don't know. I mean,
I mean, the impression I got, and again, Hiram, you may have better insight, is let's say that we had an initial grant request for $50,000, which is more organizational, developmental, and kind of, we have a direction, but we haven't sort of taken that first step. But I do believe you could use that money to develop something much more concrete, to say now we know what we want to do, and we need 200,000 to go out and get the team or the developers or whatever it is that we need. That's the impression I got from Ben, is it's not a one-shot deal. It can be a progression of, I mean, the state is really interested in success. That's what they want. They're not just handing out money for the sake of
but
that.
typically they wouldn't continue to give money to a town, because the town's not gonna own and develop whatever is made.
No.
So they would do that first one maybe, but then if it's successful and they like the concept and they have a relationship and they're talking with you, when you
Right.
finally get to the point of like a Canoe Brook where you're putting something out there,
Correct.
then that might attract the state financing because they're familiar with the whole thing. And they
Okay.
might say, oh yeah, this is a good idea. We'll give X, the Branford group, the money
Lamont
because we
showed
like
up
the
for
idea.
a photo op on that one and bragged about how fantastic it was, so they don't mind if they see something
Okay.
workable.
So what would it? What's our next step if we want to create our little nonprofit or find out how we can affiliate with somebody who's done it before?
Um. I think we have some sort of basic fundamental decisions to make as a group. So when we're educating ourselves, right? And what's gonna be good for us may not be what every other town feels is good for them. So I think figuring out a little more about what it is we wish and prioritize to be trying to see at the end of the day would be helpful, because we can, I'm certainly willing, and it's not hard to get the people behind Canoe Brook, because it's an example, and it's right at that early stage to talk to us, and we could ask them all kinds of questions about how they get started. You know, assuming they're successful, they were picked by the town to do this, what are they gonna do next? All the questions you would have that would be very specific to their situation, we would learn from that. But that's one path, that's just educating ourselves more, but. I mean, they're doing something that's partly ownership, I think. And partly rental, two different parts of something. What do we want? Do we want both of those kinds of things? I don't know that yet, Alex, and I'm not sure where we are in that path.
So let me ask,
Does that make
sort of
sense?
about,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some there are,
the
No.
how to get it done follows the what you're trying to
yeah,
do.
Right.
a lot of the initial organization really needs to come here. And before we kind of get started there, I think, there are a number of groups around the state that are really well organized in doing this. I mean, Litchfield County, I
Yeah.
keep talking about Jocelyn, but
Yeah,
they just had a really, very cool sort of retreat seminar thing, 500 people there, from Litchfield County, which are all small towns,
but they're all great little groups with no staff except them.
right? Exactly, so each of the towns has their own private, nonprofit that they've organized, and so there's a lot of guidance, and certainly Leslie's experience is key and most important to that as well. We just need to decide what it is we want to do, how do we want to do that, how do we phrase that initial grant to DOHS, and it has to have some result in it that they're gonna feel, okay, this is good, this is worth funding. If it's just kind of fishing around and we really don't know yet, we don't really know, we just want some money. I don't think our chances are gonna be very
no,
good.
I definitely agree. I got that sense from Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand the direction. And part of what he made clear is he can help guide us. We can say, oh, this is what we want. Sit down with them and he can say, you might want to think about this or that, and sort of steers a slightly different direction or. And he's gonna get feedback. He ultimately has to bring it to his boss,
So, yeah,
who is gonna look at it and say yay or nay. So the way I look at it is he is willing to be the sounding board that tells us, here's a really high probability you're gonna be able to get the money to do what you want to do or not. And you work with all these people, or?
that's what I did. Yeah.
Is the key to this, in some way or another, knowing, finding a piece of property that can support something?
That's really important, especially in a town like Bethany,
Yeah.
because it's so limited for development, but. Because of that, without infrastructure, you know, it's a different thing when you're in Branford, where there's water and everywhere you go, sewer, so. I think that is a really key thing, but. You know, it's funny, it's not the money, it's the sort of will, and the vision, and the idea that you really want to do it.
One town that I talked with recently, they had a parcel of land. And they knew that the property could support a 5-bedroom house, lot on that lot. And the lot was decent sized. And so what the town, affordable housing group decided to do was, well, could we build 5 single-family homes on this parcel? And they designed it, and they are in the process of doing it right now. So,
That's,
yeah,
that's,
And so I think that there are a number of things like that. We just need to decide where do we want to focus and how do we do that? I think forming that initial group.
Yeah.
Is very key. But then deciding how we want to do it, picking out some properties that might be available. And if the people that own them are interested or willing to sell them.
Yeah.
That will be part of the process. That would even be better.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. But I think that's kind of.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, some groups start off saying, well, we're gonna do this, and they try something, like we're gonna do. Rentals for families, and they buy 3 houses and they convert them.
Yeah.
You know, and they do that, and then they say, well, we need new starter homes, so then they go do that. Other groups come out with one idea and that's all they're gonna do, and they get it done. So I don't know what we have here in terms of interest.
Let me ask a question,
Yeah.
because it's come up several times with Rocky Corner.
Yeah,
There's an idea out there that if whoever buys that turns it into rental properties, that's a really bad thing.
yeah,
People are very,
they're nervous.
to
Yeah,
me,
sure.
I don't care. And should we care as to whether we're creating home ownership or rental opportunities?
I think both address a need, and it's really just up to whoever is talking to come together. So, you know, honestly, I've seen small scale things work very well, whatever they are
Yeah.
in small towns. The one thing you can't really do well on small scale is elderly housing.
Oh, what?
Largely, even though we're also independent in our gray-haired age. Largely because there is a sort of scale of needing support services and infrastructure, human infrastructure. When people are frail and older, and to have a 3 or a 4 unit place is sort of like. That doesn't work. How can you afford to have people there helping? Plus, you know, at this point. I mean, I worked for a long time with JB Gardner at the very beginning here around here, trying to find something for elderly only housing, and now the state doesn't really want people to do elderly only housing. So there's a lot of reasons why that one may not be as easy to even consider at this point, but for families, starter families, younger families, you know.
Well, just on that point there,
Mhm.
I mean, in my past 8 years, I've been approached by a number of different people.
That won't
And to
stay.
be older,
Yeah.
older people say, my house is too big, I'd love to stay in Bethany, there's
Yeah.
nothing for me to move into. So I distinguish what I'm thinking about from
Yeah,
what I think you're talking about, which is these are people whose physical condition or maybe
Yeah.
mental capacities have gotten to the point where they can't accommodate a lot of daily challenges.
well, it's not even that. You can have independent living, and there's some wonderful small places around the state, but they usually are 18 units at the minimum.
No.
Because that's what it takes to have maintenance come. That's what it takes to have somebody, you know, available
Mhm.
if somebody falls. I mean, it's not like they're getting meals done for them, or it's not assisted living in that sense.
Right.
But independent, you know, over 50, over 62 is the legal thing. It's a question of scale at some level. Unless it's your family, extended family, that's a different thing. But
You may remember, that
Yeah.
not too long ago, there was a 12 unit
Mhm.
elderly housing proposal. That I think back when Derry was first elected.
Yeah,
Is that the
And-
one that was off?
the one up.
Fairwood?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was supposed to be up on
Near the
the
airport.
Or,
airport.
yeah,
Thank you, Kim.
And so for whatever reason, that didn't go forward or get any traction, but I
Yeah.
mean, I think that was 12 units if I recall. correctly,
Something like that. It was really,
Was there problems? Because I actually asked her about that. And her answer was sort of vague as to what the problem was, but I think to some degree that the actual land there might need amelioration, what's the word?
remediation.
remediation.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that I know.
One thing about one of the other benefits, and I know we're sort of talking it through again, Alex, but one of the other benefits of having a local or a nonprofit group do stuff is if they find a piece of property, they don't have to go to the town for approval. I mean, you're talking about airport owned or town, I mean, town owned property, people have different investments in that, and you have to take it to a town meeting or a town approval process. Whereas if you have an independent group and they find a piece of property, you still have to go to P and Z, but you don't have to go get permission to secure the option to own the property. So
So that actually,
that's a hard thing.
I don't mean to take a hard turn here, but it is related. When I was going through the data for the property sales, one of the things that I noted was what land trust paid for a few different pieces of property. One 14-acre lot, for almost 7 acres, 150,000. And for 14.5 acres, 13,000.
No.
So obviously these were developed through discussions with the families that basically said, hey,
Yeah,
we'd
definitely.
love to be able to preserve it.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking about sort of a simple model, and again, under a nonprofit that is focused on affordable housing. If that may not be an opportunity to engage with people who own some of these undeveloped parcels, who are willing, because obviously there are people out there who are willing to make their land available and not look for top dollar.
Yeah.
That they have other motives that are important to them.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, would a nonprofit also serve as a vehicle to
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
go through that?
Definitely,
And we could learn a lot from the land trust in terms of how do you cultivate the relationship,
Yeah,
because it's not
yeah.
gonna happen in 6
Yeah.
months.
that's what they did in Norfolk for the first four things. They got one property donated and two at discount. And the person that was quote unquote selling it to them got a tax deal out of it too. So it happens. It's not common, but it happens.
Right, no, I wouldn't see this as the primary model, but it,
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna look to you and ask you, are we at a, I sense in talking with each of us individually, and myself included, that we're all sort of anxious to get on from just educating to actually beginning to set a direction and do something.
Yeah.
Number one,
Kim is agreeing.
are we just being collectively too impatient? Do we need to continue to do some education, or are we at a point? And I'm gonna look to you because you've been through all this, so I think your guidance is really, really critical.
Mm.
How do we take our next step, and what kind of next step should that look like? Is that you, Kim?
Yeah, I think are you frozen? You're frozen. You can hear me though. I'm
Yeah, we
still
can hear-
processing, I'm still processing a little bit, but there you are, what Leslie said, and trying to figure out how we, like, how do we, I mean, we're looking for affordable, but we're especially, I mean, my thing was especially looking towards seniors, because that's what I think is going to be the most palatable for the town. And then I think we need to backpedal a little bit and investigate a little bit more what Leslie's saying, that, you know, what the feasibility of a project like that actually is.
Mhm.
I
you know-
never thought about what you said until right now.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. What would say, I think we should spend some time, I'm not sure about how long it's gonna take, but I think we should spend some time trying to actually visualize what we think people in Bethany would want. So I agree, Kim, that when you talk about older people, everyone feels less threatened, right? And I think when you talk about younger families, which we don't have a ton of coming into town for expenses, people also feel good about that if they're gonna join the volunteer fire department or bring kids to the school system or whatever. What would it, when we say, like, even for me sitting here, how realistic is it to picture a development for people 62 and over? Say it was on Amity. I mean, I don't care where it is. Say it's instead of the commercial, pretend for a minute. What would that have to look like to be something Bethany wanted? And I think it would be relatively easy to check with the Department of Housing to see whether they would fund such a thing. Because anything that's age restricted, they don't want to do, or they haven't wanted to do.
Mm.
So one answer is, no matter how it would look, we're not gonna get funding to support it, therefore we shouldn't go that route. But I'm not even clear what it would look like. What are we talking about when we say that?
Can it be both things? Can it be couched as simply what it would be, hopefully, is a smaller unit
Yeah,
home?
yes, and it could be at
for
any age.
young or somebody downsizing that's retiring. Not, won't have to put senior in there. If it has those
Yeah.
connotations
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
You know,
Including like single moms that wouldn't necessarily want to move out of
Yeah.
town, or, you know,
Yeah.
just trying to look at other, but I hadn't really thought about what Leslie said until now.
What do you think? It's to me, it's just sort of like, I'm spoiled. I get Bethany, I get a house.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to picture if I downsize to something,
I sure
Well, I
did
think-
that.
you know?
I think about my mom,
Used to live
you know,
in-
my
Yeah,
mom,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah,
she's in
I-
Trailside in Hamden. It's a condo. It's 55 and over.
Yeah,
It's 2 floor, you know, it could be 1 floor, you know, just trying to think about.
Yeah.
You know,
one
she's almost
bedroom, okay, as long as
84.
it's-
It's actually a 2 bedroom,
Okay, so that's what most people,
you know, with the
Yeah.
thought that if she needed to have someone live with her, she could.
yeah,
So,
bedroom and a
I-
half, get around
Right,
purchase.
right.
I
Yeah,
spent half of my career working, doing flooring and
Mm,
stone and ceramic work as well at the Heritage Village.
When I
Mm.
moved out of
Yeah.
Bethany, when I moved out of Bethany, living from a residential 3,000 square foot home plus to one of like almost 2 acre land, you do get spoiled. I mean, to having this large size property
Mhm.
and no neighbors nearby bothering you as much or
all right, well,
that sort of thing. But then you moved, like when I moved out, I got divorced and moved out
yeah,
to Canal Crossings, which is a huge development that occurred
Yeah,
there that
that's-
has
that's a
a
good
mixed,
one. Yeah.
that had a mixed use. The minimum square footage of those apartments were 2,000 square
Mhm.
feet. 2 bedrooms, each one have their own individual good sized bathrooms. My kids were, I mean, my kids certainly were so used to having their own bedrooms, but they had to adjust to having one bedroom for beginning. Starting home, the starting place, it was ideal. Beautiful size living room, beautiful size kitchen. It really is really a good feasible development. It had a pool in the, you know, common ground, common
Yeah, it's a good
area, a
place.
common
Yeah.
area. Beautiful by the canals, by the
Yeah,
trails.
everybody gets out of that
By
state
the
of shock.
trail.
I did work, like I say, in Heritage Village
Yeah.
for 40 years. And half of my work was there,
And it did have.
and they're downsizing. They're
Yeah.
all in shock at first, and that disappears pretty quick. Heritage Village has so many things going on
Yeah, and
there.
yeah, in this place,
And
they
this
have
would-
the elderlies and families.
Yeah, I mean, that's
mixed.
another kind
know.
of big project,
A good mixed use.
small town.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, I hate to say it, but anything that we tried to develop along those lines would look a great deal like. The one that hasn't been successful yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot,
That's what it would look like,
yeah, there's a lot,
Well,
and maybe smaller in size
I
for
don't-
those units.
I
Those
don't
are-
wanna let that experience
No.
influence, because there are a lot of contributing factors to why
Yeah.
that became.
Sure.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to be for lack of interest in the market. Cause they
Hmm.
seem to be, well, I don't know where they ended up with their price points, killed them.
Yeah,
Yes,
But that's because the time is money and it took forever. And
Yeah.
it was.
Right.
It killed
But
it.
they got there on their price points because it got stalled so much, they had so many additional expenses.
Yeah.
So it might have been a really good concept that didn't get executed the way that everybody wanted it to be. I agree with you 100%. I'm not a big fan of quote unquote senior housing, over 55 housing or anything. I think it's better to create the
Family.
units that are there. And if it's populated by young, single,
Whatever.
professionals or by elderly
Or
people.
a couple just starting out or
Yeah.
something like
It would
that.
be
Doesn't
both.
have kids.
It had a good mixture, at least the development, when it had a mixture, the students, it was a mixture of young students that wanted to have where to live, that was decent
Right.
place, decent area. And elderlies and families with children, and it was a common area, and it was everybody.
And
Enjoy
personally,
it.
as somebody who probably fits into that senior category, I'd rather live in a community that has the diversity of age range and activity and energy as opposed to everybody's out there talking about their ailments and this hurts and that hurts and.
Wait a minute. I
Well,
wanna
no,
talk.
And-
we do that already,
and-
right? I mean, we just do.
I mean, if we are back in times, if we are still very neighborly, we help one another, so that's the other way.
Yeah,
Could I make,
Please.
some three suggestions? I mean, it seems to me that in order to move forward, which Alex is trying to get
Yeah.
us to do. I think that there are three things that we really should do. One is sort of set that, the private nonprofit sort of progress in motion, however we do that, whether it's talking to somebody that's done it before. Or somebody that can tell us exactly how to do it. Secondly, would be, start thinking about some parcels of land in town that might be available. Now, that might be somebody who owns a large parcel of land and maybe they want to develop half of it and leave half of it open. Maybe they have an idea that they would like to have something there for their parents or something. So looking for parcels of land, I think, is really important as well. And then the third thing is talking about which of those uses, the mix of uses is appropriate. Whether it's completely mixed, that is young and older folks, or whether it's primarily older folks, whatever. But I mean, it seems to me that if we get some progress in each of those three areas, we were able to write that grant to the state. Say, okay, here's what we'd like to do.
Right.
And here's exactly what we'd like to do it. Putting that grant together is really not that hard. We can do that and happy to.
Yeah, no, that's right,
bring that to you. But it seems to me
It's
that,
never the money.
no,
We can get the money.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can, it's
Oddly
not.
enough.
that's the impression I
That
got.
really is true, but you
Yeah.
have to,
You have to
and-
put the time and effort
Yeah.
in to figure it
Yeah.
out.
and here's my other question. If you go, I think you've summarized it really well, Hiram, is that, do we think there are people in town, minimum of 5, that would want to be part of a group trying to get this to happen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
I
just
mean,
asking,
no,
because I
I-
mean, that's
I mean,
the
just-
fundamental watershed question. It's
Yeah,
like, are there
just-
people that are willing
Just
to try to
yesterday, I
do
had
this? Mm-hmm.
one person come up to me and we got talking. And he said, if you need any help, I don't have a lot of time, but if you need any help, I'd love to be part of something like that. So
You
I think
they'd be
I think there's interest. I think there's a
Mm.
lot of interest.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And I
You
think
do
it's
too?
really important that it stay apolitical. There's no question
Oh,
about that.
yeah.
That's key.
Mhm.
Because so many of these things are just, they go south
Mm-hmm.
so quickly when it's determined, or at least perceived to be one particular political
Yeah, no,
entity or
yeah.
another.
It needs to be as apolitical as zoning it needs to be.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know how you want to do this, Alex, too. It's really your choice is how do we get these things back to the commission, tell them, here's what we're thinking of, and get their sort of blessing to move forward, to push it forward. Soon,
Commissioners and board of selectmen.
P and Z.
It's
I
about
would
to be an
start there.
election too.
I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with P and Z, I just don't think we're gonna be in a position to do much with them until after the first of the year.
Okay.
I mean,
After the elections.
we got the election, we got turnover, got new commissioners are gonna come on board. We have to get
Yeah.
a new CEO. So.
That's not allowed.
You're gonna change your mind.
If we could get somebody here.
But to your
start a
point,
nonprofit,
Well, that's.
I think,
that's
I mean,
amazing.
I'm happy to brief them on every meeting, what's going on. And we talked about the possibility of doing some sort of a special meeting of this group with P and Z. But I don't know
We
who
should
it
wait
was,
till we
but
know
some
who the
smart
P is.
person came to me and said, you probably want to wait until after the elections. It doesn't make any sense because
Yeah.
3 of the 5 commissioners are gone. So start the conversation with the people who are going to be there.
I have a question, would it be, I mean, I feel like, since this is what I used to do, I know too much, sort of, so it's hard for me to step back and be a volunteer and just say, where are we in all of this? And so, because there's no one answer, that's the thing I'm absolutely committed to, it's all very local. And I guess my question is, would it be helpful, just like we had the for-profit developer here, to get a little time at our next meeting or sometime from Larry or one of the people from Branford, he's the consultant helping
That would be
them.
great.
And
Yeah.
so we could ask these questions, how do you figure out how to do a small
Yeah.
scale thing? How did you land on that use for that site? I mean, those
That would
kinds
be
of things,
great.
just to hear how they talk about it.
That would be great.
Would-
I really would be.
Okay, because I mean,
That would bring clarity to me for sure.
well, maybe, stuff like Kim saying, until I said that she hadn't thought about it. I mean, those are the things you just uncover by talking to someone who's tried things that didn't work.
Yeah.
Or tried things that are gonna work,
Right.
The other thing and this is strictly hearsay because I haven't heard this directly, but the economic development have been talking about some sort of possible grant for installation of water area in some area here in
oh
town.
man.
So I'm not so sure how that came about or what's happening in that area, but I think that it would be good to have a conversation with Steve Winter, who is the chair of that commission, or Sharon, who is also part of that committee, because it's
Yeah,
something
no,
that has
I'm-
been in discussion,
I talk to them periodically
and it
and
seems to be a mix of what we are intending as well here, and I'm not so
before
sure.
we have that conversation, we need to have clarity on where we're going.
Yeah,
Because one thing I've learned,
don't get used.
they're kind of all over the
Yeah.
place
Don't
right
get
now,
used.
Yeah,
and we can't be whipsawed.
okay,
We have to be really, really clear.
yeah,
If there's an alignment with something they've identified and what we've identified, that's great. If there's not, then we continue to do what we're doing. and-
okay,
I just want to,
Yes.
as an outsider, I just want to say a couple of things about that.
yeah,
I think that when you start talking about infrastructure improvements like that, number one, it's a big project and it's a lot of money, it's a
Mhm.
long time. But it also drives things in a certain direction that people may be uncomfortable with.
mhm,
And I think that Leslie's comment about the right sizing of whatever it is we decide to do
Yeah.
is really critical in a
mhm.
town like this. So I think that's really important. No, if the water line comes along, that's great. But it seems to me that people will be most comfortable with something that could fit on the land the
As it
way
is.
that it currently exists,
Yeah.
so that it's not upsetting everything.
That's right,
That's my-
that's right, and I totally agree, Hiram, thanks. I also feel like housing and housing that's affordable to normal people, quote unquote, is not the reason to do water.
Mm,
If there are tons of other reasons to do water, there are,
mm.
and let those be compelling, but don't use this as a reason.
I mean, that the conversations I've had with Steve, at least, is around the conversation that has taken place about what's going up in the airport and the plaza, whether that's ever going to turn into something or not. But that would be a perfect example if you had the right developer that came in to turn that into a mixed use, commercial, first floor, residential,
Sure,
second floor. If that were the case, then water could be an issue.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah, if that makes sense for a specific development or for something else, which is
Right.
really in that case.
but I agree,
Economic driver, not
It's-
housing driver.
Mm.
correct,
Mhm.
I agree.
Mhm.
I was involved with a group in Centerbrook that we had do the top of the second and third stories over what is a really nice, small commercial set of properties. And there were 2 dentists up there and 1 lawyer and then nobody, and it turned into wonderful family housing. So that kind of thing can be great.
Yeah.
Ended up at 18 units, I think, and nobody knows it's there. That's the success, is when nobody knows there's housing that's affordable. They think it looks like everything else.
Well, this, I gotta say again, for this project, it was 9 or 10 single family units, that was on septic.
Yeah.
And well,
Yeah.
Sure.
it can
You
be
don't
done.
need the water.
See, I don't think septic
Right.
is our big hurdle.
No.
No. No.
And in some respects, I think septic is sort of the guardrail that allows us to pursue something because it can never be that 60-unit building.
Please, yeah.
It may be 4 units, it may be 6 units, whatever it may be, it's gonna be driven by what the septic limitations are going to be.
Yeah.
Water becomes a separate issue because the water availability may or may not
Yeah.
be a determining factor there.
That's
So,
true anywhere there's, but that's what, 90% of Connecticut?
Yeah.
so just
All right,
keeping
so
an
actually,
eye on.
Friday, we'll talk and I'll see.
Oh,
if I
yeah,
get
yeah.
Larry to come to the
So in
next
terms
one,
of next
or at
steps,
least do a Zoom with us or something.
can we think about our
Yeah.
next meeting for you to line up
Sure.
somebody that we might
Sure.
get?
Is the next one in November?
No.
Yep.
Is right the night before election?
Oh, no, really?
Yes,
It is.
it'd be November 3rd.
Yes, it is. Okay. It'd be fine.
Unless Alex decides something else.
Um,
Yeah,
but I think that would be really, really
Sure.
helpful.
I'll pick his brain for a change.
For me, I've sort of readjusted my thoughts in terms of the goal for us is by year on end to have the clarity of
What we're trying to,
what we're trying to do.
okay,
That's
Good.
You can't get what you don't know what you want. You can't do
And
it.
it should be, I look at it as a small first step. We're not trying to solve the entire problem. But if we have a good direction,
Mhm.
that could be the good first step towards other successes down the road.
That's right.
All right, good.
Can I ask something from Leslie?
Sure.
Mhm.
Leslie,
Yeah.
can you give us a couple of ideas? You can email them to us or email them to Hiram and he emails them out to us, however we do that, but of places like the Centerbrook one that we could take a ride to and take a look at.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to love that part, is taking
Oh,
groups
yeah.
that were getting formed to look at other things.
Yes.
Because sometimes you see things you don't like and you go, I don't even do it that way. I do it, and then you get clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer.
Are people interested
Absolutely. that
in
would be
doing a
cool.
field trip? Because I know 2 places that I would definitely recommend we go. The development down in Orange.
I went there, yeah.
Yep. And the other one is, I think it's technically in Milford, but it's right off of Willis Farm Road.
Oh, yeah,
Are you familiar with that one?
yeah.
And Alex, actually, we don't need to reinvent the wheel on that because remember they had that tour?
Yeah, I know. I
Right.
didn't get to
Right.
go, but
I didn't
I
get
got
to
to
go
go
either,
through.
but, right.
Yeah.
So-
I'll think about that and talk with Larry a little bit too. It's,
Yeah,
It would
because
be
I,
great to do that. To look at a couple places. I'm visual. I need to see that.
well, in a way, I wish, I mean, maybe I can get somebody from the Litchfield area to give us stuff. And
Okay.
if people don't want to take a day of driving around, which I fully understand, that we could maybe get enough visuals of that. Because those are much more like Bethany
Yeah.
There's a
than
ton.
Oranges,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
It's not that that's a
Which
bad
one
thing.
are you talking about?
Litchfield,
Oh,
Norfolk,
yeah.
Cornwall, you name it, Washington, they all have small groups that have been incredibly successful.
Salisbury.
Building
Salisbury,
stuff,
Kent.
you don't know what's
Not
there.
very,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would be interested also in seeing how they are marketing
Yep,
and that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For those particular types of,
Yeah.
because I think that I feel like that's going to be,
yeah,
I hate to say it's the most important aspect of this
Yeah.
entire.
yeah,
One of
you
the
know.
things, one of the things that was said at a meeting of the Housing Authority in Kent that I went to. They're trying to build stuff as quickly as they can, but it has to be right size, has to be in the right location.
yeah,
People that come and find out about it say, well, I want one of those units.
Yeah.
They said, well, it'll be ready in 3 years.
yeah.
That, no, I don't mean 3 years. I need one now.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, yeah,
that
it's a
sizing-
pent up demand. That's
You you don't have to
amazing.
market,
Bang, bang.
you don't market
You
too
don't have
much.
to at all, actually, because
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
tell each other. Can't
No, I mean in
affordable
terms
housing is
of
another one.
People being okay with it here.
Oh, I see what
That's-
you mean. You mean,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you
That's what I-
communicate about it?
that the
Yeah.
market,
Right.
yes.
I think if
Yes.
it's right.
I got what
size,
you meant, Lauren.
Fall under the engagement,
Yeah.
community engagement.
Yeah,
process.
I think you do, frankly, from my experience and as a resident of this community, I would say. You do the soft part of always being transparent and explaining simply what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Yeah.
But you don't try to get people convinced, because the convincing part is when it's done and it's great and nobody feels threatened by it and it's, oh, this is a good thing. And it convinces people in a way that I could talk till I'm green and I couldn't do it.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, it's important to be clear and to have it all identified and to be confident. But I think it's unrealistic in this particular thing. This, something called affordable housing raises so many fears.
It is.
And that's why we don't call it that. We call it housing affordable to somebody specific you can imagine.
Middle
Yeah.
housing.
Low cost.
They use that
Yeah,
phrase,
and
they
it's,
say middle
it's
housing.
kind of a nod to the challenge, but
Yeah,
I mean, I do think there are a subset of population who you're never going to,
exactly,
like, so don't even
Don't
bother,
yeah.
But I do think
a
that,
lot of people,
but I do think though that can be very problematic.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I
Well,
mean?
one of the mentions in that Branford article that you gave us
Yeah.
was that you're selling the concept without a developer or contractor already in, because that looks like favoritism. They said that.
right.
So
Yeah.
we sold the idea first.
it's who you're trying to help.
Yeah.
Who,
Right.
Yeah.
frankly, it's who I would have been 30 years ago or somebody, it's
Mhm.
when I first got here.
And just so
The
you know,
market's changed, not me,
Mhm.
there may be a really good forum for us to do that. In that, again, P and Z is obligated to come up with a revised housing plan.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that, what we've talked about P and Z is having a public meeting to discuss housing to get input. So this would be our opportunity,
Yeah, you got it too.
collaboratively working with P and Z or providing some support and input to P and Z. But be able to talk about the house. There are very few people in town that I talk to that don't acknowledge we have a housing problem.
I find it interesting because if you were to talk to the school systems and you do what percentage of these students are actually struggling because of the level of poverty that exists here in Bethany.
Yeah.
It will be a good amount, there is, and they're actually asking for help
Yeah.
because there is a degree of poverty that probably are needing this type of housings because they're living in extreme needs and they're not speaking out precisely because there are other families that they don't want to be categorizing themselves
That's right.
at the level.
Right.
And that there isn't a huge need if the school systems can provide us just with their analysis of it, that we probably have a good number out of it, that are number of families that are in need of this type of housings.
And because of that, like Leslie said, if you start with a small focused project and you know what you're going for, that opens the door.
It helps.
It
Yeah.
does. It has to,
It
somebody,
speaks
like,
more
oh,
than
that's
anything.
okay. I like it. I wish we were on the list.
That's right.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that's what happens. It builds on it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think we should also maybe think about sort of pitching it in a way where, we're drawing in like young professionals,
Mhm.
like, cause I'm just thinking of a bunch of my
Yep.
friends who work at like Quinnipiac,
Oh,
who
yeah.
would love to live here, but they
Oh,
can't,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
they don't have,
definitely.
they don't pay well over there,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah. Winnipeg, Yale, New
Yeah.
Haven University.
Well, that's
so
always
very
been
close.
one part of Bethany,
Yeah.
always have
Yeah.
had some of that, but it's also had great economic diversity over the
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm afraid of losing. I mean, that's the heart of the community is
Yes.
having different people here,
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
okay, well, I've kept this longer than our hour. Hey, this has been a great conversation. So in terms of takeaway for next steps,
I'll get Larry.
and
And
you can follow up with me directly, but
Yeah.
if we could get those people lined up,
Yeah,
that would be great, number one. Number two, if people are interested in